I don't think we talk enough about how embarrassing Donald Trump is. It is difficult with all the discussion of the criminality and the corruption to fit in how humiliating he is, but he is. Donald Trump is not only trying to break our government, but he's also just trying to break the perception of America, not just at home, but on the world stage. And he certainly furthered that cause during his trip to Japan, when not only was Donald Trump an embarrassment in front of our troops, who were literally silent as he ranted, rambled, and just spewed out nonsense, but his handlers had to save him, as our decrepit, cognitively declining president didn't know how or where to walk. It was a complete and total humiliation. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into that moment of silence, of disgust from our troops at Trump and his inability to walk, I want to start with one of the more disturbing things he said to troops in Japan, and it was about not being politically correct.
And unlike past administrations, we will not be politically correct. You don't mind that, do you? When it comes to defending the United States, we're no longer politically correct. We're going to defend our country any way we have to, and that's usually not the politically correct way. From now on, if we're in a war, we're going to win the war. We're going to win it like nobody ever before. You know, we'd go in, we'd blast the hell out of countries. Shouldn't have gone in. By the way, if you don't go in, that's even better. We don't have to go in, peace through strength. But, you know, we'd go in, we'd win, and then we'd leave. They used to say, to the victor belong the spoils. Well, we'd be the victor that would leave, because we had people that didn't know what the hell they were doing. But we're also very honored to be joined by hundreds of our incredible Japanese partners, and they are incredible. Thank you very much. Thank you.
What Donald Trump is saying here has nothing to do with wokeness that he claims to be going after with Pete Hegseth, with their stupid pyrotechnic show and their new definitions of what it means to be a manly man in the military. It's not even about the cultural bullshit that they spew. Donald Trump wants you to believe that the military is his, that the ICE, the thugs, the cops on the street who Donald Trump has weaponized against our communities, they're instructed by him, that they have no allegiance to the Constitution. They do not have to live up to the oaths that they have taken. No, they just do whatever Donald Trump wants. And that doesn't even need to be written in an order. It can be posted in a bleat. They will fall in line with Trump. It is the reason why Trump has been so parading around the $130 million private donation that a billionaire oligarch gave to the U.S. military, while Donald Trump's shutdown has made it so that military families aren't being paid, that members of our military aren't being paid. And why does Donald Trump want a $130 million private donation to the military? That is illegal, by the way, because our military can't take funds that aren't appropriated by Congress, because that's the way our government works. Because Donald Trump wants to blow people up in international waters. He wants to sick his thugs on you without any accountability. And not just without any accountability from Congress, without any public perception that this is wrong or that this shouldn't be happening. We have already become so numb to troops on our streets, we can't allow this to happen. It's not about politically correct. It is about Donald Trump deciding that he owns the military. And we cannot allow that to happen, especially when he's such a fucking embarrassment in front of the military that they wouldn't even respond to his nonsensical diatribe right here.
Gulf to what is now known as the Gulf of America. Isn't it nice? They say it now routinely. I heard the news today. The Gulf of America, weather is wonderful. They don't say it with a smile. It's called the Gulf of America. How did that happen, right? And it took me, you know, for many years I said, why is it called the Gulf of Mexico when we seem to have the shore? Well, we do. We have 92% of the shoreline. So I said, you know, when we make it back, not if, when, too big to rig. We made it too big to rig. I said, get out and vote. Too big to rig. Make it that way. I said, I'm going to change it. And one of the first things I did is I changed it. Nobody could even fight it. They tried. We got sued all over the place. We won every suit. And it's now officially the Gulf of America. Isn't that nice? But our sailors have written honor, greatness, and triumph into the pages of history. What you're doing is incredible, and it's an incredible time for our country. On gun decks and flight decks and torpedo rooms and cockpits, the men and women of the Navy have poured out their blood and sweat and tears to defend the land.
Really? We're doing Gulf of America talk again? Is this how boring and embarrassing and sad this administration has gotten? Really, Trump's only job in the White House is to bleat like eat hamburgers and remodel shit to make it look worse. Stephen Miller and Russ Vought are running the show. Sure, Donald Trump is the one in charge of spewing the evil bile, but what has he actually done? What has been accomplished by this administration? Donald Trump is the first president in history to leave the country during a government shutdown because he is so out of touch, not only with what's happening in this country, but what's happening in his own government. He just doesn't really seem to care. And talk about out of touch. Donald Trump isn't in touch with reality. It's the reason that he's bringing up the Gulf of America, that he's slurring his words, and why the Prime Minister of Japan had to walk Donald Trump around, as we can see, direct him where to go. Because our president is so confused, he is so out of touch, he is so just escaped from reality, he doesn't know what he's doing. And if that was Joe Biden, it would have been headline news. And the only people are talking about it on YouTube right now. The only people talking about Donald Trump's cognitive decline are on YouTube or on Substack. It's The Bulwark, it's Zateo, it's Midas Touch, it's Crooked Media, it's Brian Tyler Cohen. It is nobody in the corporate-owned media talking about the fact that Donald Trump right now is in deep cognitive decline as he becomes more powerful, taking every bit of authority from the institutions in our government, making Mike Johnson and John Thune his little cucks who pass over the power of the purse. He's allowing oligarchs to buy up the media. He's directing them to buy up the media so they won't criticize him. At the same time as other billionaires are buying up the military, the military is being paid by a private citizen cozying up to Donald Trump. That is dystopian type shit. Donald Trump has the military being paid by his buddy, by a campaign donor. They wrote him a check. And so now, when things get tough, who are they looking to? It's not Congress. It's not the authority of our Constitution. It is to Donald Trump's private funded military. Donald Trump's military. That's what he wants the perception to be. And then I want to talk about the media element of this too. How no one is pointing out the fact that this guy is in deep decline. Very few outlets are. It's not surprising. Twitter is owned by Elon Musk, who's the richest man in the world. The second richest man in the world, Larry Ellison, whose son, who's his just little Nepo baby extension, was the guy who did the deal with Skydance Media, Paramount Plus. We saw that merger, which took over CBS, took over Stephen Colbert's show, got him canceled, now has Margaret Brennan grilling Hakeem Jeffries, asking him why Democrats are election deniers, because Barry Weiss, who runs the Zionist fucking Islamophobic Free Press, got her shitty little media outlet bought for $150 million when it barely scratches the surface of the type of views that this channel gets in an hour. They get in a week, and yet they're worth 150 mil. So I guess I should be cashing in here. It's crazy. And so Larry Ellison, the second richest man in the world, he owns all of that. But now he wants to buy Warner Brothers so we can have access to that media library, CNN, HBO. He's in talks, not in talks. He's about to buy TikTok alongside the Murdochs. And then who's the next richest guy in the world? Zuckerberg. He owns Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, increasing control in the AI race. And then who's next up after that? Jeff Bezos. He owns the Washington Post, which is trying to poach more conservative media figures so that the paper can be even more subservient to Donald Trump. Because although the boycotts are important, and I encourage you to cancel your subscription to the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos doesn't care if it operates at a loss. That's what's so scary, is that there's no accountability for these media outlets if they are run by billionaires. Because if Jeff Bezos loses $100 million a year from the Washington Post, and that's an outlandish number, but if that's the number he has to lose to appease Donald Trump, he's fine with it. He doesn't care because he's making that on the back end. The subsidies that the Trump administration will give him, the corruption he's allowed to go forward with, union busting, attacks on worker rights. Jeff Bezos is fine to lose a little bit of money on the Washington Post. That's what's happened to our media. It's not about truth. It's about servicing billionaires, a very, very small group of them. The media is not liberal. It has never been. It is corporate. And some of the most disingenuous corporate actors in it need to be called out more. And that is exactly what Lawrence O'Donnell did to Scott Jennings right here.
The CNN regime then realized that was a mistake. and they stopped doing it. They stopped paying for lies. But then CNN got a new head. The head of CNN for the last 3 years, hired by the Trump-supporting owner and operator of CNN, is an Englishman who thinks paying Scott Jennings to lie about Donald Trump is money very well spent. Scott Jennings, who used to be an aide to Senator Mitch McConnell, was not always a rabid, lying Trump supporter. When he first started appearing on television, he was capable of criticizing some of the more extreme Trump positions, but Scott Jennings figured out where the money is and how he could get his own podcast and decided to become the J.D. Vance of CNN.
When I talk and complain about, rightfully, the corporate media, the mainstream media on this show every day, I want you to know that I'm never talking about Lawrence O'Donnell. This is someone who has been, from the beginning, talking about Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, who has been talking about Donald Trump's cognitive decline, who has been just as hair on fire as he needed to be about the fascist regime that was incoming. When people told us, we can give an extra $50 billion to ICE, we can allow them to be funded like the fifth largest military in the world, the Democrats who voted for the Lake and Riley Act, and it'll be fine. When we told them they were being short-sighted, Lawrence O'Donnell was there with us. So thank you to Lawrence O'Donnell. I always want to give a shout out to him. And I just think we need a new perspective on where this media apparatus that the right owns is going, and how we need to fight back against it. And I'm having some thoughts about maybe how we expand this show, how we do more. I've been thinking about maybe doing a live stream every night or most nights around like 9 o'clock, and to just like get some things off my chest, because I think we need more of that. So let me know if you'd be interested in that. Comment below if you'd be interested in the live stream. Maybe a little bit more relaxed setting, but a little bit more fun. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to be in this fight. We're doing it as a community. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.